Hello, I just want to come out here today and to talk about the topic of subtle emotional abuse from a narcissistic partner. A lot of times we like to look at the obvious things. And when I say obvious, we look at the dramatic love bombing where a person is like wearing you down daily, although it feels good, but you're being worn down daily with attention, calling you all day long, all night, hanging out with you all the time, whenever you have free time, that type of thing, getting the dozens of roses delivered to your house, delivered to your job, popping up like a jack in a box, so to speak, unexpectedly, right? And then you being around their friends and everything, and they're like, oh, so you're this person's woman, you're that person's woman, you know, like that, and you feeling like being dumped with some shame and not feeling good about it because of this worship, which in essence we know that worship only belongs to God, which is why it infuses a sense of shame, right? And with narcissists, they have a whole entire shame base that's their foundation for, and it's the shame base along with that seed of insecurity that's driving the behavior. But we're so used to, like I said, the over the top intoxicating behavior from the love bombing, that we often miss like subtle things that are being done, and they're not really subtle, but we don't think of them as being abusive, that are like target things that narcissistic partners do. And so you think about it like with the woman, if being disrupted, her sleep being disrupted, that is actually a very important sign not to ignore. And you think, okay, well, somebody disrupts your sleep, maybe they're in trouble. No, the thing about it is, when it comes to anything that disrupts your body from functioning normal in the way that it should, and you in a drive to try to prove yourself to go along with that, that becomes a problem. And what do I mean? Just for an example, if your narcissistic partner says, well, comes and knows that what time you go to bed, they know that, right? That's a given. But then every single night he's waking you up to shampoo his hair, braid his hair, comb his hair, or do different things like that after the fact that you've already gone to sleep and you're like deadly tired, nodding off almost like a drunk person trying to finish the hair. And then you're like, well, if I can just get some more sleep, it'll be better. And they're like, well, you know what? I can get somebody else to do my hair. And so what happens is they pull in and triangulate someone else into the mix. And what does that do? That in turn brings that inner drive that's in you, right? Because you have been driving off of love addiction and approval addiction from way back from the inheritance from Eve in the Garden of Eden, right? So that inner drive of trauma comes through you, and you are on the hamster wheel hustling for self-worth, making yourself exhausted every single time. And there's not one time that this doesn't happen. You see what I'm saying? This abusive behavior, because what it does is that it disrupts your sleep cycle, but it also interrupts your emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical state. You know what I'm saying? That's being run down. And then that same situation can transfer over to, for instance, if you are working along with him, you are I guess I would say co-owning a company, right? Or having to help him with something involving his company, and you're tired and you're really needing to get some rest. And then he said, well, you know what? If you don't do it, then I've got Kathy, I've got Joan, I've got Maria, and I've got Tonia that I can ask at the office if you don't want to do it for me. And so what do? Okay, I'll do it, knowing you've already passed the limit of being tired. But you still go ahead and what? You press through and you do it because you have been what? Compared to some other woman who's been brought in to triangulate, to put the pressure on you. When either way it goes, what will happen is they're going to still go and they're probably still going and getting that woman to do what it is that they're threatening to do anyways. So it becomes a lose-lose situation. The thing about it for you, though, is that you've got to ask yourself, if you're going to choose to stay in this type of relationship, either I'm going to set up boundaries, or I'm going to be able to have him run amok in my life, because I can't keep running at this pace. If it's a work situation where you're being threatened like that and you feel like you got to keep getting on the hamster wheel and hustling for self-worth to prove that indeed you are enough, so he doesn't go to all those different names he mentioned, that's going to run you down physically, right? Because you're going to be working anywhere from 14 to 18 hours a day trying to prove something to someone who has an insatiable hole inside of them, and it can never be proven, right? And if it comes to the thing with the hair, either way it go, like I said, he's still going to pull women in to do his hair, shampoo it, braid, whatever that needs to be done, whether it's the hair or whatever it is. You're still going to be waking up in the middle of the night and still will suffer sleep, and it will be at your own expense. And a lot of times sometimes you might be in situations where you have small children there, and of course then they need to be tended to if you've got infants or doing other things. And sometimes it might not even be with the jobs or with something with the hair or personal care. It could be situations of, I will sit here, and I know you have to wake up in the morning, so I will sit here and I will play the game all night long. But what does the scripture say? And that way, so you don't get any sleep if I sit here and I play this game all night long, okay? I'm going to exhaust you and run you down. It's still what the end result is going to be. That's the unspoken message. But what does the scripture say, though? Can two walk together except they be agreed? And so I just want you to think about, what is it that you're agreeing to do when you're on that hamster wheel, right? And either way it go, you're agreeing to trying to help yourself, but then he's agreeing that you're not going to do that. So how will you come to a compromise without running yourself down into the ground? Because that's eventually what's going to happen. Food for thought on this Monday evening. Be blessed.